created this they created this foundation to continue the tradition of being able to help young people like yourselves who have made the choice to go to a faith-based university. And I really want to speak for the whole board to say, we know that college is expensive. We know that you've made a choice to attend a very specific kind of university, all of you, wherever you're going. And we we really want to support that. We want to see nothing more than your success, than your ability to get through the zigs and zags of a higher education and follow you into your career. I had several of those. At the Bible school, I trained for church work, and I did that for about 4 or 5 years, and then I ended up temporarily going to work in business, which I did temporarily for 21 years. Um, at the end of that career, I decided, I want to do something else. And so, Victoria, you're going to the School of Education. I went to George Fox and did my doctorate in the School of Education. So I have lots of good friends there. Um, Genevieve, I taught in the School of Business. So I'm sure you've probably already met Jonathan Ramsey. He's a very good friend of mine. And let's see, gosh, Ben, I had a connection with you too, but it wasn't at George Fox. It was actually somewhere else. And now I can't remember where it was, but we'll figure that out when we go to pizza. So anyway, your career is likely to have lots of interesting changes and moves in it. And what we hope to do is not only give you the financial support, but give you the coaching support to be able to not only choose the first steps in your career, but to carry that knowledge with you as you make all kinds of different decisions about where your vocation takes you. So that's my little speech, but thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
And if I could do a quick disclaimer, I wanted to let everybody know I just turned on the record because I forgot I need to record this for Corey, who's not going to be able to join us today. And I just wanted everybody to know that I've hit record. So.
Thanks, Sandy.
Thank you. Jim, who's on your right? Maybe.
Everybody on my right has spoken, so I'm just going to continue following down, and it takes me to Jessica.
Hi, I'm Jessica. I'm from Kirkland, Washington, and I'm going to be attending Seattle Pacific University.
Welcome. And who's on your right? Well, we have Isaiah and Patty left.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Isaiah.
Hi guys, my name is Isaiah, and I just want to give a disclaimer. If you hear a scream or a yell, that's my 1-year-old. So I am residing in Salem, Oregon. I will be attending Corban University in the fall. I just finished all my prerequisites at Chemeketa just this last spring. So, and I'll be studying counseling psychology.
See, Isaiah, I have a quick question for you. Are you going in as a freshman, or will you be, because of you finishing all of those, where are you actually coming in at?
I believe I'll have a junior standing.
Okay, similar to Genevieve. That's good to know, because you'll see it when we get into the later orientation with the returning scholars. There's some different things that we do with juniors, but we also want you to have the freshman experience. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Patty.
Well, since I'm North, I might as well be the last one. I'm Patty Miller. I reside in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I gifted myself a day off the other day and went hiking in the glorious Rocky Mountains. And I have to say, I had the pleasure of gorking on wild huckleberries, and it was a first for me. So I really enjoyed that. I am the president of Millinet HR and Business Solutions. And so I do a lot with human resources, performance management, love career coaching. And I know I'm going to be doing a lot of that with many of you. And this is my 4th year with Trinity. And I feel it's an honor to be able to work with amazing people like yourself to add value, inspire you, challenge you, and have a safe space where we can all grow and learn together.
Thanks, Patty. And I'll add that, so Genevieve and Isaiah, you'll both have the opportunity to work with Patty as well this year. because of where you're at in your curriculum status. So,
Shannon, my last comment, because I remembered. So Ben, I don't know if he's still there, but the headmaster at C.S. Lewis Academy was one of my classmates in my doctoral program at George Fox. So that was my connection.
What's his name?
Tell me the name of your headmaster. I'll tell you if it's him.
Clay Swanson.
No. I think
Okay.
I think the one that I went to school with has retired since then.
Oh, okay.
So, Jenny, I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to put the slides up,
Okay.
and then you can kind of take us through a little bit of our initial orientation.
Okay, sounds good. I want to pull up where we're at right now. So I'm going to probably move a little bit faster through this than I maybe would, just because I want to get us on schedule. So you've met everybody, and the next thing that I want to do is just make sure that everybody received their box of goodies that we sent you. I can't see everybody now, but you can just, or I kind of moved it so I can. Just give me a thumbs up if you got your box. And did everybody open their box? Yeah, okay.
And if you open the cup, there's treats inside for the break.
Oh, there you go. Sandy wanted to make sure that everybody had treats. And this is something that we have started doing for all of our scholars. We are very blessed in that there is an organization called Faith Box. You can find them online, and I think I put something in your schedule about it, but Faith Box donated the majority of everything you see here. And there's little things that we just thought might be helpful to you, right? Like a cold brew. You might need a little while you're studying, or you can use it today if at some point you're like, I can't take this anymore. So you've got some cold brew, we've got you a cup, we've got you a water bottle, just some things to hang up in your house or your dorm. And the book that we chose to send you this year is called Live in Grace, Walk in Love. And the author of that book is a really interesting gentleman. The first book he did is called Love Does. And he's just an interesting guy in that he thinks that he kind of approaches life as anything is obtainable. He's a really solid Christian man and just does unique things in the world. So we thought we'd send you that book. I know you have a lot of studying to do, but if you find some time where you're looking for some inspiration, we're hoping that this book will do that for you. But hopefully a few things that you can use and some snacks for this meeting as we get going. So that's what's in your box. And to all of our coaches, I don't know if Patty, yours may get there late, but we have sent a box to all of our coaches this year as well.
She just got it.
I did get it, and I love it. I have my faith thing hanging up right in front of me, and it inspires me. It was a phenomenal surprise. So thank you so much. Awesome.
We're really glad. We wanted you guys to have the same experience as the students. So,
and again, I even started starting today, and I read my first, page, and I'm going to do that every day. So it's sitting on my desk. So thank you so much.
Okay.
Me too. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I will tell you guys, I've actually had the chance to hear Bob Goff, the author, speak, and he's truly amazing. And the other interesting thing about him that I don't know that I could do is that the man never turns off his cell phone, in that he will answer it. If he's on the phone, he answers it all the time. It's just a motto that he has in life. You could get his cell phone number, which was in his first book, and call him and talk to him if you wanted to. So just a little side note there on him. He's just a really interesting guy. Okay, so let's talk about the Trinity Scholars Program and what our intentions are and why we do what we do at Trinity Education Foundation. And I start with a quote from one of my favorite authors, Frederick Buechner. And Frederick Buechner has this quote that says, "The place God calls you to is the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet." And I think it's very profound when we think about what God has gifted and called each of us to do. In many ways, what Buechner is saying and what he's proposing is that when we are walking in the things that we are passionate about and we're gifted and good at, then we're going to meet the world's deep hunger. We're going to be there to serve. And that is part of what we talk about even in our mission statement at Trinity Education Foundation, is wanting our scholars to understand that what you're called to do and your passions in life are truly a way to serve the world. So just something to keep in mind. You may want to put that up somewhere. I actually keep that quote in front of me quite often to remind me that I don't have to always make it so hard about what I'm called to do in life. I think sometimes we try to make it too difficult. And really what's happening is God has gifted us to do things. And as Jim said, you will find that throughout your life, the journey that you follow is going to be probably more unique than you anticipated it being. And it will take you ways that are very different from where you started. And one of my great examples of that is, some of you can probably see on my back wall, I worked in the Christian music industry for many years. And if you'd have told me when I did that I'd ultimately be working in the nonprofit world or be working at a place like Trinity Education Foundation, I would have never believed it. But what God has done through all of that is use my giftings to bring me to the places where I can serve others best, and taken me in directions I never would have dreamed, and given me opportunities I probably never would have dreamed of. So I just want to encourage you that when you are following that, you will meet the world's deep hunger, and you will serve in the way that God has called you into this world to serve. So go ahead and go on to the next one, Shannon. There we go. Again, I want to reiterate what our vision is as an organization, and that is to see graduates embark on meaningful vocations and constructively impact their communities in response to Christ's calling to lives of service and stewardship of God's creation. And again, that just goes along with reconfirming that Buechner quote, right? That what you do in life, we want it to be everything that God has created you to be and what you're passionate about. Within what we do, our objectives, we want to help you either confirm or discern your vocation. You may be really solid about where your vocation is, but we want to, for those of you that are freshmen, part of the freshman experience is really walking into that and understanding that you're following the right path. You guys, all of you that are here seem very focused on very specific areas, and it may just be a process of confirming where you're headed and then beginning to imagine what that looks like in an even bigger way down the road. We want to make sure that vocation is aligned with your major. We have seen occasionally that a student needs to change their degree, and we want to make sure that happens sooner than later if there's any question in the process. We want to make sure you're successfully prepared for your chosen career, you successfully transition from college to career, that you graduate with little to no debt so that you have long-term financial stability. And we could get into all the debt statistics that are happening in the world today, but we don't have time for that. Just know that our goal is to help you in the best way possible financially. And then we do want to make sure that your deep gladness meets the world's deep need. And then the last thing that I'll say is we have a scripture tied to kind of who we are as an organization. And Jeremiah 17 says, "Blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. They will be like a tree planted by the water that sends out its roots by the stream. It does not fear when heat comes. Its leaves are always green, and it has no worries in a year of drought and never fails to bear fruit." And again, what we want to see you succeed in is when you are doing everything you're gifted and called to do in the world, you don't fear when things are tentative in your life, that you are producing, right? In a sense, your leaves are always green. You may notice that our logo up at the top there of the screen is actually a book with a tree coming out of it. And what we want to see you do is be like that tree, that you are planted and rooted deeply in who you are and who you've been created to be. And so that's a big portion of who we are. And it's going to be in your freshman and sophomore year. Usually what we're seeing is a lot of kind of discovery work. And then once you begin to get to your junior and senior year, and Genevieve and Isaiah, you'll kind of experience this all at the same time. We start working with you on the practical applications of preparing for that next step once you graduate college. And it will be everything from dealing with difficult conversations, making sure your resume looks right. Do you need interns? All of those kinds of things. How do you successfully transition from college to finding a job and what you want to do? Those are the things we're going to practically help you with as well. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Shannon, and she's going to walk you through more of what coaching is.
So I'm going to just stop the slides just for a moment and explain a little bit about why I got involved in this a few years ago. And that's because I don't know about your different situations, but I can tell you mine. I grew up completely privileged because I grew up in the United States. I was born in the United States, but most people would have said, oh, how can you claim that you grew up in privilege when actually your whole family lived under the poverty line? So I grew up in a single parent household in South Dakota. Going to college was just a dream of mine, but I knew it would be the way that would transform my life. And so I grew up in a pretty dysfunctional home with a single parent. There was mental illness in our family. There was alcoholism in our family. There was a lot of conflict, etc. And I knew that going to college would be my way out. And at that point in time, this was back in 1983, so a long time ago, right? You know, the kind of the scholarship foundations like Trinity didn't really exist. I was really lucky because I ultimately went to Northwestern University, that's outside of Chicago, and they helped me figure out everything: my work study, my loans, my grants, scholarships, etc. So it actually cost me less to go to Northwestern than it did to go to South Dakota State University, which most people find just crazy, but it's true. But I was born in the United States. And since having lived here and then working on 6 continents in the past 30 years, I've seen real poverty. And that's why I say I grew up privileged, because I was born here. And there were so many opportunities that were available to me because of that. And I also know that if you're coming from a situation where you're either a first generation student, first person in your family like I was to go to college, or having a really strong need for a financial scholarship like I had, that sometimes you don't have all of the other support mechanisms around you. So I felt like I was really going blind. I mean, there was never a tuition statement that went to my mom. It always came to me. My mother was an artist, but worked for minimum wage in the Sioux Falls School District and had no understanding about what I was experiencing, didn't know how to prep me for job interviews. And just the people I was associated with at Northwestern came from such very different backgrounds. And at that time, I just didn't even know who to reach out to. So when I heard about what Trinity was planning on doing with the coaching, I thought, oh my gosh, it would have made such a massive difference for me to just have the opportunity to talk to another adult who understood the professional world that I would one day go into, and just to get some guidance that my mom couldn't provide for me because she didn't come from that world. And so I hopped on right away. I donate my time to the Trinity Education Foundation. In fact, I donate 20% of my time every year to nonprofits that are focused on eradicating poverty, primarily through programs for women and children. And then the other 80% of my time, I work with very senior leaders in organizations like Microsoft, Amazon, you name it, kind of around the globe, helping them to impact the changes they want, and also to help themselves and also help their organizations and their communities. And so I wanted to share that with you because I feel so personally passionate about what our coaches provide. And it's really up to you to take advantage of it. But we're all people who are here because we believe coaching makes a difference and can be exceptionally helpful for somebody as they're going through their college experience. And I think it's pretty cool because most scholarships don't come with this. And, you know, you get the money, but you also need the resource to help guide you. And so I'm very proud of that. So with that, I want
What about your book?
Oh, well, I'll talk about my book. Thank you, Rosemary. I'll talk about my book. I have a book, and I'll talk about it when we move into the next part. It's called We the Change. You're all going, oh, hello. We have a cameo from Isaiah's baby. Hello, baby.
Hi, cutie.
So, hello. You can see I was like, I love babies. Okay, so, but everybody's going to get a kind of like a soft copy of this that you can open on a Kindle app. I'll tell you more about that later. But and Nathan's joining us. He's going to be telling you a little bit about coaching. I'm going to quickly tell you about our coaching experience, and then I'm going to turn it over to Nathan, who is a returning scholar, who's going to tell you a little bit about his experience. Okay, so what is coaching? So, you know, coaching, if you've ever been on a sport team, if you've ever learned a musical instrument, somebody's kind of guiding you in that process. And you might think, well, they're maybe teaching me more than coaching. Well, the way I think of coaching is it's about helping you to learn from your own experience. And so we help to raise awareness about what works for you. And also we leave you with responsibility. So we don't do the work for you. You do the work, but we bring you tools and techniques for you to become more conscious of what enables you to be at your best and to be successful in this college environment. And more than likely, you will also ask us for some of our advice, and we are happy to share it. So our job is to help support you in this process. The purpose of the coaching program really kind of varies by year. So, you know, in the beginning, we're helping you to think about, you know, yourself. Who are you? What classes might fit with what you think you want to do in the future, what majors you might want to explore, and, you know, your future career, and how do you get that first job or get into graduate school. So we bring all of these skills and experiences to you. But what's unique about our coaching is we all also have a kind of a faith-driven aspect in our own lives that really calls us. So I'll talk about that a little more too when we get into the next orientation, because I have a podcast. If you're interested in my book, you can also listen to podcasts that had a faith-based orientation, and you can get to know me a little better from that and learn about the book. And so with our coaching, we're going to talk a little more later about what it looks like in terms of your actual experience as freshmen, and then our freshman junior hybrids who are in the room. We're going to talk about that when we come back after our break, when we have the returning scholars join us. But for the moment, I think the best way to learn about coaching is by meeting Nathan, who is a long-term Trinity scholar and has benefited. Patty was his coach, and they have a fantastic relationship. And Nathan, we have about 9 minutes before Eric joins us to talk about the Pathway U content. So I'm turning it over to you. Thanks, Nathan.
Yo, thank you, Shannon. What's up, y'all? Oh, I love this space. Yo, Patty, I miss you. It's been a minute, but I know we're going to connect in the next couple of weeks. But y'all, it's so good to be in this space. Yeah, Jenny contacted me and asked if I can come through today. But yeah, just to give you some background, and then is the questions about coaching, is that right? Like what coaching, what that looks like?
Yeah, like what was your experience, Nathan? And yeah, and then if they have any questions, it'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. So for some background context, I'm from Guam, and then I grew up in Tacoma, Washington, and I went to Seattle Pacific University. I do know there's an SPU student here. Is that right or not? Oh, okay. What's up, Jessica? If you need a plug, I got you. But yeah, so I graduated from SPU last summer. So that was summer of 2020. And I majored in sociology, mathematics, and history. And I'm going to my second year at Harvard in a Master's of Divinity. And I'm going to be a pastor and professor in theology. So that's the route. I went to Trinity Lutheran College. So this is how I was kind of one of the, I would say, quote unquote, guinea pigs with Trinity Education Foundation, but in Trinity Scholars Program. But it's been such a good ride. But yeah, Patty is my coach, and we still talk actually up to this day, ever since I graduated from undergrad. But yeah, coaching was really helpful because for me, I was so, and Patty, please feel free to jump in too, but I was very, I don't even know how to say it, but heady and kind of philosophical. Like I was very like in my thoughts, you know, when pastors and spirituality can get all up in here. But Patty really helped me stay grounded, figure out like what my vocation meant, like what that manifested to be, what that might look like. And so to see, like, speak on what that's like, I did a bunch of like volunteer stuff. I had a bunch of jobs, but Patty really helped me focus on what is the path that I was looking to take. And then how may I kind of not showcase myself in a way that's tokenizing, but really just tell people what I'm about. And that looked like kind of having a really clear and clean like resume and a CV, which is a curriculum vitae, which is what some kind of grad schools look for. It's like another resume, but it's more education focused. So having a really clear resume, cover letter, personal statements, CVs, just to really kind of advertise and show people what I'm about. And then helping me kind of figure out what kind of like internships or jobs would really secure me in the vocational path I was going into. And Patty, I'm curious about what you think kind of questions you asked me, or like, I'm trying to condense everything together. But
Yeah,
what are some things that you noticed?
Yeah, I found a lot of our time together was sometimes gently challenging your thought process, because you know you would be really in the throes of the academia. You were the president of the student council, and you know I helped you navigate your inner dialogue, so you know can kind of. It's not just the education, it's the whole educational experience and being at the college, and to get, you know, you've got the friends, you've got you know the drama and the politics that might come with everything, and to just, you know, just to be that confidant and sounding board for you, and also to gently challenge your thought process to help you just feel more confident to navigate the obstacles that were perhaps landing in front of you. And I remember saying to you vividly, Nathan, you're saying that math is kicking my butt. And I'm there, no. Just change your inner dialogue, because when you're now kind of almost manifesting that math is terrible, how about I'm getting better and better at math, and I'm just gonna dominate. So little things like that, just to really help support and elevate, is where I came from. And we had a great rapport, and you know, what I really want to underscore is a safe space, for sure.
Yeah. So can I just say something along when Patty talks about safe space, your coaching conversations are completely confidential. So at no point in time do we as coaches get together and say, oh my gosh, do you know what Genevieve told me? That is not what's happening. So we might pull out themes. So that's where what I mean by themes is like what's going on in the freshman year. Often we have common themes that come across the groups. For a freshman group, a lot of times time management is a big thing. Like, how do I manage my time in the college setting? I have all these things pulling me. So we'll talk about, gosh, do we need to do anything to help overall all the scholars manage their time more effectively? We know, hey, how do I negotiate a conversation about salary? That feels a bit difficult for me. How am I going to have that difficult conversation? That's a theme that comes up in your junior year, for example. So that's where when we get together, we talk about what are the themes that are emerging so that we can be more targeted in our support for you, but no stories are shared.
Absolutely. Okay. And to complement what you just said, Shannon, is to help all of you advocate for yourselves, because like I had a situation last year where a gal, she did better with the online. She was half online, half offline. or in person. And she found this one particular course, she could pause the online and she retained the information better than being in person. So like, well, go and talk to your professor and see if you could be 100% online with that particular program. And that was, you know, really helpful for her. And I also had to help her navigate some health events that she had, and just what accommodation looks like, and how to advocate to ensure that you're getting all the support and tools that one needs should that situation arise. So, you know, it can be all over the map. It's not random. It's certainly structured, but it can be all over the map. So whatever is really going on with you, that's where the coaching comes on. You know, I had another gal say that she's just struggling with her relationship with God. And so that's where our conversation went that particular day. So it really all depends. And, you know, I'm not above any of you, and you're not above us. It's a partnership. It's a collaboration. I just happen to be 1 or 2 years older is all.
Nathan, I want to ask you a quick question. Were you, when you first started coaching, because you were one of the guinea pigs in a way, I can't think of this word is too big of a word and I don't mean it, but were you nervous? There we go. That's a better word than I was going to use. Were you nervous at all? Or did you like go, I don't even know what to expect, but then what was that like for you when you first started?
Well, yeah, you know, this is one thing that me and Patty were talking about. So that's a great question, Jenny. Thanks. One thing is whenever we're nervous, that's actually a sign that we're doing something bigger than what we are right now, right? And so nerves is actually a sign that we're jumping into the next stage of our life. We're jumping into something big. And for me, right, there was these really valid concerns that I was a first generation college student. I'm the youngest out of 5'2". Some of my siblings didn't even graduate from high school. Yeah, my mom was really sick when I went into undergrad. And so, yeah, I had all these nerves about what coaching might look like. Am I going to show up enough and be enough for my coaching experience? And really, the first couple sessions was just grounding me. Patty reminding me of who I am, that I'm capable of doing X amount of things. And when we realize that we're capable of doing it and we're big enough to do it, the next thing is, what are you passionate about and what do you want to do? Because then there's agency involved. And of course, there's different dynamics, right? Racism, sexism, a bunch of things that come into play. And those are all things that with the coach, we try to navigate around, because there are some social forces that put people on advantages and some people who are not. But the coaching is really hopefully just a space that's really built to ground you and where you're at, and then really kind of strategize and find ways to move to the next thing that we're interested in doing, and then also be affirmed along the way. So that's what me and Patty had, like constant combos when we first started coaching, and then moderate combos like towards the end, and then we're still in contact now. So it's been nothing but like an upward experience. So that's what I would say you could get from coaching.
Thank you, Nathan. We have Eric who's going to join us, but Eric, if you don't mind, could we take 1 or 2 questions from our folks? Thanks. Anybody have questions for Nathan?
I only have just one. Like, what is it like to be at Harvard? You know, I do so many things that I just want to know.
Yeah, that's a great question. So here's the thing about Harvard, right? There's people who come in here with status, right? Like, I mean, I was partnered with Mike Pence's daughter this past year on a project, and that me and her have very different politics. And so like, that was like a whole thing in and of itself. But people who come in here with kind of, you know, who are higher on the social ladder, right, within our society, when they come into a space where there's a first gen of color who had a coach, right, and was affirmed along the way and is about it and like can advocate for themselves, that can stir some people off here, because some people were given things and other people kind of worked for it. And that's not to say that I carry these kind of certain privileges and stuff like that, but there is a different experience, because people who, like, for my example, people who identify with from Tacoma, and in a program like this where we're all trying to leverage ourselves, like, we have a different grind. But Harvard is cool. There's a lot of different things going on. I mean, you get people who worked at the White House, who are now professors here. And like I'm in conversations with people who like ran the government in Argentina. Like it's weird. It's like this microcosm of like all these different people, but all in like a same space. But they're very detached from society, I would say, because it's very academic here. So sometimes it can be pulled away from what's actually going on the ground. But I know I'm a practitioner, so I don't ever lose myself knowing that what I'm doing at Harvard is really going to impact people on the ground. And I'm moving back to Tacoma after this. So yeah, that's what Harvard's been like. I hope that answered your question. I'm kind of scattered right now, to be honest.
Oh no, it's okay. It's just like if you've seen like the movies and the books, they're like, oh my gosh, that person goes to Harvard. Oh my gosh, and everybody just freaks out. It just sounds like so cool to me personally. I don't know about you, but if I went to Harvard, I'd be like, bro, I am so cool. Not in a cocky way, but like I'd feel really accomplished.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And there's an underground scene here that's not gonna make it on the movies, where it's like dope people doing dope things. Like that's who I associate with, but that doesn't make it on the news. So
and to complement what you were saying, Nathan, is remember you weren't even sure if you wanted Harvard. You had many different choices, so you weren't going for the big shiny object, which means Harvard. You know, everybody knows about it globally. You were going for what spoke to you and where you felt you would be, where they would get you, right? That's really what it was. And you were kind of dissecting a little bit more of the academics of your options that you had. And Harvard had to be happened to be the place that you landed. But I remember it wasn't your first choice.
Yeah, no, it was my second choice. I was actually gonna go to Princeton, but then I went there, and that's where like Get Out was filmed and stuff. So I was like, oh no, okay, that wasn't really where it was filmed, but like it felt like that. So I have to leave, but Harvard has been good so far. But thank you, Patty. That's right. Thank you for that.
Shannon, can I just really quickly, so everybody here, if you want to learn more about Nathan, Nathan was one of our original Trinity Scholars people. And Nathan was our first Trinity Scholars graduate from SPU. And then because he decided to go to Harvard Seminary, he applied for a seminary scholarship with us. And the review committee, there's a whole group of people that do it, actually ended up choosing him as one of our seminarians. And so Nathan's kind of we're moving along the whole journey with him, and it's very exciting. But if you want to learn more about him, we actually have a video and some of Nathan's story up on our website. If you want to know where he came from and really, some of the things in his life that have been challenging, but that led him to be where he is today. We love you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Nathan. Thanks
for having me. See y'all later.
Have a good day.
Okay. So Jenny, I'll have you introduce Eric. Eric, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Eric's my Pathway U bestie. One of the things that we do with all of our students is offer the Pathway U assessment. And I do believe that all of you have taken it. Sandy, I think you confirmed for me that everybody's done their Pathway U. So we chose this assessment for two reasons. One is it aligns very well with your freshman and sophomore journey and the process that you will work with Rosemary on really confirming and defining that who you are in life, right? The kind of the things that Patty did with Nathan. And then the other thing I love about it is that it's very practical and it will help you and be very critical, especially when we get into that junior and senior year. So to that, I'm going to turn it over to Eric, who's one of the founders of Pathway U, and I feel like is always right there when I need him to run ideas by. And I have big ideas for this, but we're just not there yet at the organization. But with that said, Eric, I'm going to turn it over to you to walk through this.
Hey, thank you guys. Every time I get to sit in on any of your meetings, I feel so good about our future in the world because students like you guys, I'm just telling you, like, thank you very much for the things that you're going to do to make my life as a senior a lot better. I am one of the co-founders in the company Jobsology. We're the science behind careers that fit. And we developed a product called Pathway U, which you guys now have access to. I'm going to tell you what it is, and then you're going to be able to use it better in the future. So we believe that schools are doing students a disservice when they make you pick a major your freshman year. Schools are doing a disservice by not connecting you to a destination orientation while you're in school. And schools are doing a disservice when they just evaluate your skills, abilities, and aptitudes. And so I usually pick that fight, and I get kicked out of a lot of universities. But what we built was this platform for that reason. We want you to know yourself and self-discovery. We have some assessments, and you guys took those assessments. And then from those assessments, based on your wiring, based on your values and your interests and your personality traits, we run a patented and predictive algorithm that looks at these scores and gives you a prescriptive vision of what your life could be based in measures of purpose and meaning. So that's the big difference between us and anybody else. Our measures guide you to purpose and meaning. Purpose and meaning in a career destination, a vocation within that career, and an education pathway to get there. So luckily for me, the new world of work, the new world of education, COVID really accelerated a ton of things. Schools are working a lot better now with advisors, career services and admissions, career services with employers, advisors with career services. Now I'm starting to see much more umbrella services. But regardless of what school you're at, you and your phone, you have a compass. I want you to think of that like a life compass that you could turn to at any time you're making a decision about an education pathway or a vocational destination. And so that's what we do. I'm going to pause for effect and see if you guys have anything that you'd like to add to that or any thoughts about what I just said. Okay, great. Who's taken assessments other than our assessment? Raise your hand. Okay, all right. So not a lot of people have taken other assessments. For those of you that have taken the assessment, I want somebody to volunteer. What was their experience and thought process? Don't all jump in at once.
I feel like I've done other like tests kind of like this just for like career path or what you want to do. And I like that this one just had so many different areas that it went into compared to other ones that I did because I don't know, I feel like they just gave you very basic careers and you're like, this doesn't seem interesting at all. I don't know how this helps me, you know. Yeah. That's my experience, at least.
That's great. That's really good. So I want to highlight a couple of things. So we use good science for good purposes. There's a lot of assessments and tests that are good science used for bad ways. Like you'll probably bump into it. Somebody will make you take an MBTI assessment and it gives you a label. But literally in the literature of MBTI, it says not to be used for career discernment. So I think it's funny that most of schools that I know have MBTI in their processes. But for example, we're looking at my scores. So the good science is now I understand my interests portfolio around something called Holland's interest codes. And by reading this screen, literally just reading the screen of my results, I can say things now because I know how to talk about myself. I worked with a coach to help me. I've looked at this screen. I've done some of the exercises. I can tell an employer, I don't really like working with my hands. I definitely am the guy that loves to teach and counsel and start projects. You'll find that I kind of approach it non-conventionally. Of course, I'm a big personality. I love to wave my hands when I talk, love to be out there in front of everyone. And in the world of work, I will want to achieve. I need to check the boxes. I need to make sure that I do the things on my list. And I don't need a lot of management. In fact, management sometimes squelches me. And then when you think about how I would really fit into your team, you're going to find that because I love to teach and counsel and be enterprising and artistic, I can often lead a team, good in a management position, and eager to fulfill my purpose by knowing those things about me. So what we're doing by giving you these assessments is giving you language that you can use with advisors and faculty and peers when you work in groups your junior, senior year and doing your capstone program. And when you start thinking about employment and interviewing for internships and all of those things, be sure to turn to your assessments, review them, drill into them, and explore what it means to have your scores, and then be able to embrace that and articulate it when you're working in communication for whatever system you're talking to. So far, so good. Anybody at Trinity want to add anything to that? Okay. All right, great. I'm going to move on. I'm going to try to keep you guys on track time-wise. So here's the things, the pro tips on how to use this assessment the best way. So remember, it's 4 assessments, not 1. It's not a test. We just asked you some questions in this state of mind that you're in today about certain things. So we have a Holland profile, we have a theory of work adjustment profile, and we run an algorithm on both of these scores. Some assessments, they just do one assessment, interest, like a RIASEC profile, and they say, hey, people that score like you generally like this career field. Yeah, we publish that, but that's not what we do. What we do is we take your scores with an algorithm, that patented algorithm, and we show you some connections of exploration towards a vocation. So not by a major, not by anything that's academically related. We're saying, look, in the world of work, Eric, looking at your pathway by subject, things that are in this field of education, sales and marketing, and human services, there are plenty of vocations that you're going to love if you explore those fields, those subjects. Sadly, I told everybody I wanted a business degree. See how far I'm going down the screen? And then I concentrated in information technology. And you see the number of vocations that are out there that would be a really great fit for me. Vocations I'd find joy and purpose and meaning in, there wasn't a lot, right? So this is just a quick way for you to validate, am I thinking about my why, right? Simon Sinek's, I'm going to university, but why? What do I want to get out of it? And largely 90% of the time, all students will say, I want a joyful and sustainable job, a career, and I want my university experience to be paid for by the career pathway I get an ROI on their education investment. So looking at this, it's just a really quick way to think about it and say, these 3 things for me, I could probably explore a little harder. So if I'm majoring in engineering, right, that's not to say that I couldn't teach engineering or be a sales engineer or engineer devices for human services, right? So I want you to think of that, of this pathway this way. Another way to think about it is by that predisposed idea. Now, all of you guys, you generally know what you want to study and you generally know what your major is going to be probably by the time you are like in 8th grade. But this gives you a chance to explore that. So me personally, if I had studied business, probably needed to spell it correctly, but if I had studied business, right? Business as a career choice, what we do is we allow you to provide some filters. So business, associate's degree, there's not a lot of vocational pathways that I'm excited about based on just that limited level of education. But with a bachelor's degree or a graduate degree, I start to see different explorations. Now, Nathan said something that I loved. First generation students, students from rural America, and students that come from different cultural backgrounds. We've worked with a number of foundations, and you are the product of your environment, right? Well, we worked with a school in the south side of Chicago, we still do. Those students were like you. They're getting a grant, they're getting scholarships, they've been coached and loved up, they go into college, but most of those Comer preparatory school students were going into things that they were familiar with, law, human services, and things that they'd experienced, right? So the idea of what we try to do is enlighten your thinking towards a career destination that you may have never thought of before. So that when you see this and you're like, okay, if I go to business, what is public relations funding manager? This exploration ability kind of paints a picture and tells you, okay, yeah, that could be a sustainable life. You guys tell me I'm a strong fit for it. What's it look like day in the life? What are the knowledge, skills, and abilities that I'm going to have to develop? And Onette's got a problem today. But this gives you the ability to understand what you're going to need to do in university to end up in that type of destination. And these are the programs, the general programs of study that you can explore. So, okay, you found this vocation. Now you see that there's a pathway of studying communications to get there. You can also then explore the careers within communications. So I want you to think of this platform not as it told me to be. I want you to think of this platform as a compass of where you should explore vocational destinations and map an education pathway to get there. So if I was to type in engineer, I would tell you, I am not going to find joy, purpose, and meaning in being an engineer. I might be smart enough to do it, but if I was an engineer in those fields that made me excited, then I'd typically push through thermodynamics. I'd push through fluids because I knew that there was a destination on the end. How many of you, and you just raise your hand, are a little worried that you might not have picked the right major? One. That's good. That's good. And trust me, no matter where you are in your education cycle, second year, fourth year, sixth year, maybe you're going to medical school or maybe you're going to law school, you will have these moments where you're like, uh-oh, did I pick the right thing? And this is a really good way to validate that there are career destinations that you could think of that would be a very good fit to find work and do your work and have a joyful and sustainable life. The other things that we offer are tools, right? So your coaches work with you every day, and these tools go really well in alignment to the things that they're telling you. How do you talk about yourself in a cover letter or a resume? How do you network yourself in maybe an event like a mixer, or how do you conduct yourself in an interview? These are all the standard types of tools that are out there, but reading them, knowing them, using techniques like the STAR technique are going to set you apart. And then taking the language that we've given you by your assessments and applying it, that's going to really help you as well. So the last thing I'm going to show you is the job section. So the job section here is a connector to Indeed. So literally, if I know that I'm going to be, I want to explore the job role of public relations, I could do this type of search and search for jobs. And I'm searching in 80526, but let me search New York. So New York, entry-level public relations. What we do is we pull postings that are Indeed, and we run a second algorithm. So the first algorithm I had, freshman, sophomore, even junior year, told me that I was a good fit for public relations. I already knew that. I went to school, I got the credentials and the chops to do the work. Now I'm looking for the work. The second algorithm we run looks at the Boolean string of the work they're going to ask me to do. And this shows me that not all jobs are the same. So when I look at this, there's plenty of entry-level public relations roles, but knowing how the job is going to ask me to act, behave, or do, this gives me just a quick glimpse on understanding the differences. And so then if you go to apply for that job with that company, you can look back on your scores and you can say, okay, in my mind as a candidate applying for this job, I know I don't need any stability. I need to be measured. I want things to change regularly. I need a lot of collaboration and I want to live the brand. I want to wear their shirt, live with the flag over my desk. And then you can ask questions of the employer about those things. Like, how do you measure your employees? And when we talk about your brand distinction and your excellence, Apple, you know, what's your vision of the future? And so the idea of having this language, having this tool for exploration, having this tool for connections, and then showing you that it's got value at every step along your lifelong learner journey, That's what Trinity Education Foundation is giving you. It's a gift for life, and it's your life compass. So that should take me pretty much to a point where we can ask some questions, probably like for 5 more minutes. How can I help?
Eric, that was awesome, first of all. It's always refreshing to hear you talk about it versus me. You know, Ben, I just want to also say thank you for being honest about maybe not being, you know, completely sure about the degree you've chosen. It's part of why we do what we do, because we do find that a lot of colleges and even in high school anymore, they're kind of asking you to decide something you're not ready to decide, right? And so we've had a couple of situations. We've, in fact, Rosemary's worked with a couple of students who started kind of with a generic degree approach. Like one was business admin, which tends to be very common. I'll just pursue business, right? And then realized along the way, by the time they were sophomore, realized, you know what? I actually really want to go into social work. And so using what Rosemary already does and using this this as platform helped to decide where that person would go and what was the best choice for them, because it does come back to, Eric, what you're doing is reaffirming the whole idea of the Buechner quote that I give everyone, is that, you know, when you are in your greatest place of joy within a career, within your journey through your life career, when you have that joy, you will meet the world's deep need, right? Eric's doing a job that fulfills him, that gives him joy. And in the process, fills a need that we had to help our students, right? So he's doing something that actually meets that. So Ben, one of the things that we'll walk you through and Rosemary will be helping with is really deciding, am I on the right track, or do I need to maybe look at something else? So I'll just throw that out. And do any of you guys have any questions about this and understanding it more?
I do have a question, actually. So I was wondering, is this something that the assessments, is this something that we will take kind of every year? Is it a one-time, once and done kind of thing? That's just what I'm a little bit curious about.
I love it. Yeah, that's a great question. I'm going to answer it in 2 parts. One, the scientific part. So what we did is we looked at your interests and your values. And scientifically, it's proven that your interests and your values are pretty set by the time you're like 14, 15 years old. But your personality measure is a conflict in yourself. Like if we look at my personality, you know, I'm a bombastic individual. You could see that, right? And so when I look at my personality measure, it freaks me out a little bit to look at this and then kind of drill into it and say, oh, you know, people might not perceive me as the most humble guy or the most honest guy because I'm bombastic. And that makes me nervous. And so, but what's important is I know that. What's important is that I can represent that in my dialogue and my communications with people and teams and like big groups. I mean, you're my second big group of the day. I always have to check that hubris at the door. So personality measures can sort of shift a little, and you can retake these assessments as many times as you want. One assessment that will change over time based on your experience in working with people, even scholars and even with team members and even in school and even for your employers, is your workplace preferences. We'll ask a graduate generally, hey, what kind of company are you looking to work for? And they'll say Octobike meetings and free fruit and bagels. I want a kayak to work. And yeah, those are great perks, but that's not the psychometric drivers that are going to make me happy. A company that measures and collaborates and lives that brand of brand distinction, and I feel proud working for Apple, that is going to make me happy. So knowing this is very important. The second answer, is part of the answer, is remember, we're a compass. And at every stage along your lifelong learning journey, right, there's going to be these moments where you need to take that compass out and use it as a director. a director to better understand yourself, a director to think about a different career pathway, a director to explore a new area. Like Jenny's story, I love. Like maybe I majored in business, maybe I became an accountant, and I was good at it, and then I hated the job. I was good at it. It was lucrative. They're throwing money at me. I think it's awesome. I could log into Pathway U as a 30-year-old, and with the question, should I go back and get a master's degree? But I could also learn that I could just easily pivot to a different type of vocational path within the knowledge set I've already developed because I went to school for a business degree. Is that helpful?
Yes, it was. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
I will add that you guys have lifetime access. Eric, even if we disappeared one day, if Trinity Education Foundation no longer existed, they would still have lifetime access, correct?
Well, I think there would be a big gigantic crack in the earth because you would never go away. But if there was a big crack in the earth, probably people wouldn't worry about the software. But yes, she's correct. If that ever happened, you could contact me and let me know that you can't get into the system anymore, and we'd get you into a different system. But yeah, the point is, this is a tool that Trinity is giving you as part of the umbrella of services and care that they provide that will be valuable your entire lifetime. Any insights? Does anybody want to share anything that they might have learned by just creating an account and playing with it?
When I did the workplace preferences, a lot of the answers kind of surprised me. Things I never really thought about, but I had strong opinions about.
Yeah, I love that, Ben. This is a real world example. I'm a 55-year-old guy, and I was a corporate executive before I started this company. And that company didn't want to lose me. So what did they do? They told me that I would have a job forever. Oh, you're going to work in this company forever. I don't want or need stability. So they were saying that, but it wasn't important to me. They were saying, you know what we could do? We can give you that really cool corner office. Working conditions is not a driver for me, right? But what happened is, as that 55-year-old guy listening to my employer offering things, I forgot my why. I forgot the things that are really important to me. And I love that you've kind of got an insight to thinking about workplace preferences maybe a little different, and it'll make a big difference when you interview with companies. The students and the applicants that are applying for really great jobs, there's a lot of really smart people graduating from really good schools. The thing that sets those applicants apart is how they talk about themselves, right? How they know that they're a good fit for the particular job that they have open, and your ability to articulate why. And if you can do it from the perspective of, I am a passionate fit for this type of work you're hiring, and then you can back it up by data, that's what employers are looking for today, both on the internship, the experiential learning process, and then your career services people that, or your career people that you're going to work with as you enter into your career and then go upward mobility. So that's how that works.
Eric, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
You always inspire me. Again, you always say these things so much better than I can, even though I love Pathway U.
Hopefully I'm inspiring those guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't ever want to be like me and then be able to tell people, well, I forced Gump my way to where I am today, right? You don't want to do that. You just don't want to do that. And so knowing your trajectory, being surrounded by people that can help you, having the foundation help you, that's going to never happen to you.
Yeah, exactly. That's the plan. Shannon, I think we're at our break point. Yes? Am I right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Almost perfect timing. We're going to take a break until 30 after the hour. And then when we return, we're going to have all of our returning scholars join us. So you're going to see a lot more people on the call. So as we pause here, though, I want to say you're also, when you go into a coaching breakout, all of you will be with Rosemary. So that's a great time. It's a great time to get to know each other a little bit better, but also ask any specific questions you have. As we go into the next orientation, what I will also show you is what that coaching process kind of like, what's the rhythm? How often do you meet? For how long do you meet? You're going to see that as well. Okay. And then you can talk about that more with Rosemary. And Eric, thank you so much. I mean, I love the Pathway U tool. I use it with my other clients. So I think it's great.
That's awesome. Hey, good luck, everybody. And I wish you only the best in your world.
Thank you, Eric. Bye.
Okay, so if you're staying, you don't need to leave this. You can just put yourselves on mute, stop your video, and then turn it all back on at 30 after the hour.